So here's our example, and we're going to use the 3 reads again. So the first read, I'm going to model a hot air balloon is at 10,000 feet. It is descending at a rate of 100 feet each minute. Let H represent the height of the tank. It should say, I'm sorry, I'm going to correct that. It should say the height of the balloon. And M represents minutes. Write the equation that models this situation representing the height of the balloon after M minutes. So the first read is just to get an idea of what this is about. So this is about a hot air balloon that's descending, which means it's coming down. Okay, so I'm going to go back through and I'm going to put my slash mark after each period. All right. And sometimes people like to put them after the commas as well. You can do that if you want, but you don't have to. On this particular one, I'm not going to. But I am going to put it on the word and, because some people do like to do that as well, to like split it up a little bit more. So now that I've got that, I'm going to go and read each section and pull out important information. A hot air balloon is at 10,000 feet. Okay, that's important to know, so I'm going to write it. So 10,000 feet, and this is where the hot air balloon is. Okay, so that's my first sentence. Second sentence, it is descending at a rate of 100 feet each minute. That's also important, so I'm going to put that 100 feet each minute. And again, it's very important not just to put the numbers, but to label them, put what they represent. And I'm going to put another important label here, the fact that this thing is descending. Since it is descending, that means the balloon is actually going down. So when you find those clue words that indicate a direction, either going up or going down, increasing or decreasing, or like ascending or descending, it is important to include those in your important information that you're writing down from the scenario. Now the next sentence or the next piece says, let H represent the height of the balloon. Okay, this is important because a lot of times we just use X's and Y's in equations, but if they give you a letter to use, it's important to use that letter. So I'm going to write down what the letter is. It's H, and I'm going to write down what it's for. It represents the height of the balloon. Okay, so that's that one. And I used a different color just to sort of draw attention to it. Now, the next part says, and M represents the minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that letter and what it's for. And then the last sentence says, write the equation that models this situation representing the height h of the balloon after m minutes. So what they really want is for us not to use x's and y's, but h's and m's, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and start looking at how we're going to pick it out. Now, as far as rate and starting value, I'm going to remind us again of our rate words. Per, each, every. When we see one of these words, it's a good indicator of a rate. So as I look at what I wrote down, I can see that I have one of them. I have each. Okay. So then the number that's sort of connected with that, which would be the 100, that's going to be my rate. So I'm going to write down 100. And if we remember, we would always put the rate with the x. And I know we're not using x's, but I'm going to go ahead and put the x with it because that's what we're kind of used to. And realize that that's talking about minutes. So this is really what the x value represents. Now, going down below it, I notice that I've got M represents minutes. And since I've just got this, I'm going to highlight it. What you want to try to do is make number letter combinations, make matches. Okay, so I know that M represents minutes. When I go back up and look at the top, I want to find that, and I've got minute here with the 100. So the 100 goes with the minutes. Now, since the 100 is the rate, it goes with the X. But since they want us to use M for minutes, and I now know that that goes with the 100, minutes goes with the 100, I'm just going to come back and change this and put an M there. Oops. To indicate that that's the variable I want to use, M for minutes. Now my starting value is where the balloon was originally. So that's at the 10,000 feet. When they started the descent, they were at 10,000 feet. So that's my starting value. Now, some people still do like to write it out in y equals mx plus b form, and we can do that. We can go y equals, and that 100 was with the x, 100x plus 10,000. There's a little bit of a glitch here, and I'm going to wait and see, let y'all think about that a little bit before I sort of point it out. Okay, but if we really want to write the equation with the h's and the m's, notice 100 is with the m, so I really have this sort of setup, 100m, and then the 10,000 is still 10,000. So then the y becomes the h. So now we've got the height of the balloon, 100m plus 10,000. Now, sort of the glitch, if you're not really being careful when you're starting to think about writing down what your rate and your starting value is you've got to pay attention to keywords. So I'm going to highlight something else here. This descending, that means that it's going down. So if it's going down, that means I have a negative slope, which is a negative rate. So this 100 really should have a negative sign to indicate that it's going down. So I should really have a negative sign here, and I should have a negative sign. Whoops. And I should have a negative sign here as well to indicate that it's actually going down. Otherwise, it would start at 10,000 and go up, but we know it's descending, so we have to make it go down. So it's important to try to make sure that when you write those directional words and focus in on them, that you are paying attention when you're writing stuff down below in your answers as well. And in fact, some people, as soon as they write that descending and point the arrow going down, they go back over here to the number and they attach the negative right there. That's also a really good idea because it does it quickly at the very beginning so that you don't forget that it's negative. Now, another way that you can tell that it's H equals, because some people do get confused about whether or not it should be H equals, or they'll write it like this, and they'll put the H with the 100 like that. And you can't just switch out the letters. Okay? The letter and the number matches are important. It really is M goes with the negative 100, because M was the minutes, and the number that referenced minutes was the 100, and that it's going down 100 feet every minute or each minute. So you really need to match up the 100 with the M. But the other way to know that the H is really the Y, that we're actually Y equals or H equals, is if you look up at the problem and how they stated the answer or the question. I'm going to highlight that. It says, write an equation that models this situation representing the height h of the balloon after m minutes. Okay, well, when it says write the equation representing height, that means what they're talking about is I want to know what the height equals. So that's why it's h equals. So when they're asking you to write an equation representing a certain element, like the height or the weight or the hours or the days, and they say representing that, that's what you're starting your equation with. So in this case, we're starting our equation with the height. Okay, now we're going to proceed on and make that sketch. Now I'm going to just remind myself about some labels. Okay, the H is the height, so that's my y-axis because that's the same as the y, so I'm going to put height. And the X was referencing the M, which is the minutes. So I can put X over here and I can put minutes. Once again, I need to know my starting value. That's my y-intercept. The starting value is your y-intercept, and that was at the 10,000. So I'm just going to like put it and label it. And I know it's going down. And at some point, it's going to reach the x-axis, and my x-intercept is going to be right there. So once again, I need to know what my x-intercept is. So we're going to do this algebraically, and let's just remember, at that point, whatever number that is on the x-axis, that is when the y would be a 0. So I'm going to go back and use, or you could say the height would be a 0. So we can use either equation, but I like to use the one with the x's and the y's, so I can remind myself which number I'm talking about. So I'm going to use this equation. Okay, and since I know that my y is the 0, I'm going to put my 0 here, and then everything else stays the same. And then I'm going to solve it. Now I want to get the x by itself, so I need to move that 10,000 and the negative 100, but you move things connected with a plus or minus first. So it's the 10,000 that I'm going to move, and since it's connected with the plus sign, I'm going to use a minus. And that goes away. 0 minus 10,000 is negative 10,000. And then I have equals negative 100x. And now I need to get rid of the negative 100. And let's just remember, if there's nothing in between the number and the letter, that's the same as a multiplication symbol. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to be dividing both sides by negative 100. I'm going to bring down my x. And I'm just going to do a negative times a negative is a positive. And then 10,000 divided by 100 is going to be 100. So now I know that my x number is 100. So I'm going to go ahead and label that over here. And what that means is 100 minutes. So my balloon started off at 10,000 feet and then was descending, and at 100 minutes its height was 0, meaning it was on the ground. So it took 100 minutes for the balloon to get all the way to the ground.